Hey, I'm Tyler Price, and today I have in my 67 Buck my friend Devon Henderson, owner of Cardzilla. But before we get into that, I am a real estate agent. Don't forget me. That's all we're going to say about that. All right? But we met because of, and yeah, we're like the two whitest guys.
Yeah,
we are shoulder to shoulder all the way to the wall. Yeah, that's awesome.
It's all right.
We met through a networking or a mastermind group that we both attend.
Yep.
And at that point, you were like 50 years old and had this beard.
Oh,
and
yeah.
you shaved it off, and now you're 18.
Yeah, I lost a lot of years.
Yes,
yeah,
yes, you
that
did.
day. Yeah. It's a good transformation.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I'm hoping at some point your beard does come back, because it was epic.
I'm sure it'll make a reappearance.
All right.
Yeah.
But Cardzilla, right?
Right.
First, when did it start? Let's speak to what you do, all that stuff, because
Okay.
this kid, you know, I think people might look at you and just think, oh, it's just another big guy that walks around and plays
games.
games. And,
Yeah.
But you guys are doing cool stuff. So,
Yeah.
so let me shut up and you answer, what is Cardzilla?
Yeah, so Cardzilla is basically a brand we've made, and the goal is to produce like card game accessories.
Right.
Accessories for card games. Right now we just have one product, which is just a deck box. You basically hold your cards in it.
Right.
What's special about it is you can keep your favorite card in the front.
Yeah.
And that's just kind of been a fad that we caught on to in the industry, that we thought this might be a good idea to try to make a good durable product around.
Because there wasn't like good solutions out there. Or
well, ours is more of like a kind of like a show-off kind of product.
Right.
Right. So there's been deck boxes around and stuff like that, but there had never been a product in the markets that you could just show off your favorite card. And,
Yeah.
And trading card gamers are show-offs. I
Yeah.
mean, let's be honest.
Yeah.
Let's be honest, right? And so we just decided to make a product around it. Always been into business, and so I started with me, my brother, and my friend, and kind of just been riding it since 2021. It's been a long trip.
Yeah, we're only 2024, but it's been, because it was coming up with the idea, and then you have to get it built. So first off, explain like who would buy this, like because when my son, he's now 30 something, but back when he was a little kid, he liked Pokemon cards, right?
Right. Everybody did when they were a little kid, right?
Right. But that would be one group of people, right? But who? Yeah. So speak to who's your customer?
Well, our target audience are people who are into trading card games in general.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of trading card games out there. I don't know. A lot of people aren't really familiar with them, but there's like Magic the Gathering, and like you said, Pokemon is kind of the biggest one. And then there's a bunch of other, a little bit smaller ones. There's like Yu-Gi-Oh! But it's just these games that revolve around deck building. You're given this vast amount of cards that you can pick from. And what you do is you build a deck. They're deck building games.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of product that the people who like those games are our target audience.
Yeah.
And it's a big industry. It's not just a...
Speak to that.
It's not just
how big of an industry is it?
It's I think it's an $8 billion...
$8 billion industry.
$8 billion industry.
And growing.
And it's supposed to grow to $12 billion by 2030.
Yeah.
So
anyone that's like
industry,
rolling their eyes, oh my gosh.
Right.
No, this is a legitimate industry, and you've created a product for people to or safely move their cards around so they don't get bends in them and stuff. And then on the front, a place for that card to slide in.
Exactly.
So how did you build your prototype?
Yeah, so we started I think it was in fall of 2021. I was in my college dorm room with my brother, and he was just like, I know you're into like design and 3D printing and stuff, and why don't you just try to build something around the game? And I was like, okay. So I looked around on Etsy, and I was like, oh, looks to be like kind of what's trending, and that was like the card in the front.
Yeah.
And so I just decided to, start 3D modeling it and see if I could make something that was better. And so just stuck it up there on Etsy and prayed.
It sold.
And prayed, yeah. Well, I didn't know if I really expected to sell anything very quickly.
Yeah.
And we didn't, but I just had forgot about it. I was just like, I'll just put it up there, and I'm just doing my courses and stuff like that. And one day I go back and look, and I'm like, oh, we got an order 2 weeks ago, and we should probably fulfill that. Luckily, the person hadn't canceled. But no, that was like one of the coolest things to, it's just selling the first unit.
That's
selling the first unit. So.
Because it is all the, if we do this and this and this and sit there and do the math on it, but at the end of the day, you do have to sell the first unit, right?
Yeah, you got to sell something in order to have a business. I mean, it's totally true.
So then what happened? Because at that point, it'd be hard for you to just keep building them on the 3D printer, is that right?
Yeah, I mean, we tried, we tried to just stay on Etsy and just 3D print products and sell them, and we scaled up pretty quickly. Like we went from selling one month, and then like the next month it was like 15, and we're like, oh, this is good with my one 3D printer. It takes 24 hours to print one unit, right? So like the cycle time is terrible, but it didn't matter because we were only selling 15. But then we got to like, there was a month we were selling like 100 a month, and then we got up to like 250 a month, and I'm like spam buying 3D printers. And so I was like, well, we should probably try to do something else. But we tried for a long time to just do 3D printing. And I know somebody who's in the 3D printing business right now, and he's got like 74 3D printers, and I didn't want that life.
No, and they're 24/7.
They're 24/7.
These are running all the time,
they're 24/7. And it works for him, and it works for his market, which is great.
It's great,
if we wanted to get into the mass markets, we felt like we needed to make a little bit of a change.
So speak to that, because the change, instead of 3D printing, you're going to
injection molding.
Injection molding.
And this is well, we had a few issues, and this is kind of the reason why we switched into injection molding, was the big time constraint, right? But also, if we ever wanted to get into like mass markets and retail stores and sell to distributors and stuff like that, we needed really to have a more durable product. Something that was like really clean cut professional. You know, the model that I made in my dorm room in college isn't exactly,
it seems like I saw some of your prototypes.
I think you did.
But they were feasible, right? I mean, they worked.
They were good enough to sell some.
Yeah.
But we wanted to make it in the mass markets and really make a good business out of it.
Yeah.
Something with a strong foundation. So we met with basically he's just a manufacturer here in Idaho Falls.
Right.
And we just talked to him, and he was like, oh, let's just get a quote out there for an injection mold.
Yeah,
I don't know what it's going to be. Let's just see. I feel like that was kind of the salesman in him. Let's just see, right? And so he put a quote out there, and we're like, oh man, maybe we can actually get it done. And so that kind of started our journey into getting the injection mold made.
An injection mold, so now you go from making one every 24 hours to an injection mold can sit there and spit them out how quickly?
One every minute.
One every minute,
right.
Yeah.
And that opens us up to just being able to make a big amount of inventory and just work the sales side rather than being a slave to the printer all day and always reloading the printer and stuff like that. So,
because that's what our friend says. It's like guys get there and they got these 70 plus 3D printers going. They got to sit there and load a new product, take the product off, do all that.
Yeah, he's got like several employees that that have to work there to unload and reload and unload.
Which
and reload.
Again, his is unique enough. I think that's the model, right?
I think it works. I think it works really well for him. He just has so many variations.
Yeah, that's
that it makes
the
sense.
issue, right?
But we just had one product,
right?
And so it made sense for us to go in and put in for a mold. Injection mold making is really expensive.
Yeah.
Our first injection mold was like 25 grand.
Yeah.
It was just me, my brother, and my friend, and we're all like college age, right? And so we're like, it's not like any of us have like these incredible jobs or anything.
Yeah. So. Just three dudes figuring something out.
So we scrounged up enough to make that first injection mold, and actually it was a huge fiasco.
Don't you love that? It's like you think you're getting your answers answered, and it turns into whatever. Like, well, go ahead. What was that? What was that like?
So
you scrounge up 25 grand. Get this injection mold.
Yeah. So this was like a year and a half ago. It's been some time now, but there was this injection mold maker that we were working with. He was a referral from the guy who was going to produce our units. And he had worked with him before, and he had done good work for him. And so we thought, you know, we ought to work with this guy too. And he's here in the United States, and so getting it made in the U.S. would be a little bit more expensive, but you know, may as well just do it, right? And so we sent him all the specs and everything, and he said, oh, it's going to take about 16 weeks. It's going to be about 25 grand, half. This is very industry standard. I think it was half up front, half after.
Right.
We could come up with the half up front because of our savings and stuff, and then we were like, we'll just work and
we'll figure out the half. Yeah, that's
just send it,
16 weeks away.
Right? That's so far away. If we grind, we can save up that much, right?
Yeah.
And so we put in for that half up front, and you know, everything's fine to start with, right? Because we're just like waiting 16 weeks, right?
Yeah,
we hear from the guy every once in a while. But we start getting close, and we're like, I haven't heard from this guy in a while, right? And so we reach out to him, and he's like, oh yeah, I'm just really slammed right now. I just need a couple more weeks. We're like, yeah, that's totally fine. I mean, we're saving up cash. We're not even quite there yet, right? Yeah. We're not even quite there yet. But we're just saving up cash, and then 2 weeks go by, and we're like, hey, are we getting close? And he's like, oh, you know, it's gonna be another couple weeks. And we did this song and dance for,
oh man,
I think 4, 5, 6 times.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it took 6 months.
Yeah.
And when we finally did, oh my goodness, actually, it's a huge fiasco.
Yeah.
Now that I'm really thinking, you know, I haven't really thought about this in a while.
Yeah, sorry to bring up that pain.
Yeah, this hurts.
Yeah, sorry.
So he sends us the mold after like maybe 6 months. I don't know, 20 something weeks. And we get it, and we start producing parts, and we're like, there's all sorts of things that are wrong with this.
Yeah, issues with this mold.
Like, this is not what we were trying to get. It was super loose. It had weird markings on the front of it. And our manufacturer, he's just like, yeah, I think this is a mold problem.
Yeah.
And so we get back in touch with the guy, and we're like, hey, you got to fix this and this. And he's like, oh, okay. So we send it back to him, and the mold's like 400 pounds. Like,
yeah, they're not. This isn't a tiny little thing,
it's
right?
Not, yeah, right. It's not something that's small. It's not like I can just fly it over to him and you know, overnight it to him, right?
Yeah.
It's like $500 to ship one way.
Right.
I think he was out of Washington, so I mean, it wasn't across the country, but it's still pretty far.
Yeah.
And so we shipped it back over to him. And he spends another 4 weeks, 5 weeks on it. We're like, okay, whatever. I don't have to pay him until I approve it. Right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, I mean, we're still getting more money. Still saving up. But anyways, he ships it back to us because he thinks that it's fixed. And we run it again. It's like nothing changed.
Nothing changes.
It felt like nothing had changed at all.
Yeah.
And then we send it back to him. We do this like 3 or 4 times.
Oh,
It's like
man, $500 a time.
500. 500 there, 500 back, 500 there, 500 back. And the guy that's going to produce the units actually fronted all of that for us.
Oh, wow. Yeah, nice.
Just out of the kindness of his heart, which we were super thankful for, because we were in a tough position.
Yeah.
But on the last go, the last time he's fixing it, he tells us right after he ships it to us, he says, hey, I'm retired.
Yeah.
I'm retired.
I'm retiring.
And I'm closing shop is closed.
Yeah, so this is it.
Right. So this is it, right? Which we just thought was ridiculous, right? You know, it's terrible. We get it back, we try it. It's still it feels like nothing's changed, right? And I know he did some work on it, but it feels like nothing changed still. But so we basically flopped, you know, whether it was in our hands or not, I take some responsibility for it, but basically 25 grand down the drain.
Yeah, well, that's
what it felt like.
You know, an MBA is a lot more than that. Getting an MBA in school, right? So you know, this is called learning, right? You're paying for that that education one way or another.
Oh, we learned.
Yeah,
that we really learned.
Yeah,
we should really vet our people a little better before we work with them.
So then it comes back to, hey, we still can do this.
Right.
And we may be skipping some of the story here, but
but
you guys, there's demand.
Right. We had discovered we found demand.
Yeah. And so you did at some point you did the crowdfunding to help get the current mold on its way, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So what's that like? Because you're basically asking people to buy something in advance. Is kind of what crowdfunding is usually, right?
Kickstarter is like a pre-sale.
Yeah.
It's called Kickstarter. Kickstarter is basically, well, it can be a pre-sale in some cases, or it can be a promotional kind of a thing. I mean, people use Kickstarter for various reasons. So to kind of speed through the next couple of years, because this was about a year and a half ago, we still produced parts with that injection mold, even though it was a little bit off, you know. And we still sold units. We probably sold maybe 1,500 units, maybe 1,000 units of that product, which was fine.
Right.
It was about exactly what we were doing before with the 3D printer. So, you know, it was okay, but we lost a lot of money and we had to basically retry something, and that's where the Kickstarter came in. We were like, well, I think we have product viability. We know what the market's like. We know how we're going to sell it, who we're going to sell it to, and how we're going to sell it to them. Let's take a step back and redesign the product completely, make it something that's even more clean cut than what we have, because we were still working on what I had made in my college dorm room, which was not exactly the most beautiful piece of artwork. You know. We wanted something that was like worthy to put on people's shelves and say, yeah, you know, that's my deck box, and that's, you know, my favorite card in the front, and that's my favorite deck, you know. We essentially found some funding to get another injection mold made, got the redesign done, and just decided, let's try it again. Let's try it again. But you know, the design the reason why we did the Kickstarter is because the design process takes such a long time. The production of the injection mold takes such a long time. We're just gonna sit on our hands for the next like 6 months and not sell anything at all. And so we're like, man, I wish there was a good way we could do pre-sale.
So you found
that was for Kickstarter.
But you did find a third party that helps facilitate some of that.
Exactly.
There's some moving parts to it, right?
Oh yeah, there's a lot of moving parts to the Kickstarter, and it's over now. But you know, there's still so much stuff I worked with on it. You know, all day. But
the Kickstarter was successful.
Anyways, so we decided to launch the Kickstarter. We worked with a company that specializes in putting Kickstarters together, and we had to get approved to actually work with them, and they have like a 10% acceptance rate. We didn't know that at the time.
Wow.
And so we got a hold of them. We're like, hey, we want to do this project. We're pretty much like done. Like everything's going to happen. We just would prefer to do it on Kickstarter.
Right.
And so we'd like you to help us to do this thing. And so they said, they eventually said yes. That they kind of rejected us at the beginning.
And then you cried.
But there was some miscommunication. So we're like, actually, I think we can do this. It's actually kind of a funny story, but anyway, so we decided to do the Kickstarter. The Kickstarter, it probably took us, 4 months to get the Kickstarter together.
Right.
We had to do a bunch of pre-campaign, promotional, lots of advertisements on Meta, which is just Facebook, Instagram.
Right.
Building a mailing list. Building a mailing list.
All the things
building a Facebook
you need
page.
anyway, right?
The stuff that we should have been doing anyways, right? But we didn't really know anything about. But now they're basically going to guide us through it, and that was so helpful to us. But that took like 4 or 5 months. We didn't really know what we could do in terms of dollars. Like, it just depends on how big of a mailing list we had and how many people were going to actually show up, right? And so we finally get to launch day, and we set a goal, and we basically you hit the launch. You literally click a button that says launch, and then you just click yes, launch, and then it sends an email out to everybody who subscribes.
Yeah.
Who subscribe to on Kickstarter, and then you send a message out on your mailing list.
And then you sit and look at your screen until people start buying.
It's the craziest experience. You sit there and you've done all this work, like months and months of work, and you hit the button and you say, I pray everybody shows up, because if nobody shows up, we're going to be in trouble.
Yeah.
Because you spend so much on the advertising side, right? And people showed up, and we hit our goal in an hour.
Wow.
I mean...
You need a bigger goal.
Right, need a bigger goal. Well, that was, it was just like...
But you have to fulfill these orders too, right?
But
I mean, it's great, and it's like, okay, great, but then we still have to right. So,
and that's kind of what we're working with now.
So then, with those funds, you were able to finalize a deal, and this time you did go to China to build the mold.
Yeah. And we had been with them before the campaign even started.
Right.
Like, we'd been building a mold for probably, I don't know, 2 months before we had even launched the Kickstarter campaign. It takes a lot of time to build an injection.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
It's a big piece of metal.
Right. Yeah.
And so now it's get the injection mold made, making sure every detail's right with it, get it sent over to us, and start producing units and fulfilling this Kickstarter. Like, we sold more in that one Kickstarter. That a Kickstarter campaign only goes for a month. We sold more in that one campaign than we had in the 2 previous years combined.
Right. Wow.
I think we had sold...
In an hour.
Yeah, I mean...
Wow, is that insane?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, after we hit our goal, we just kept selling units.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I think we did 430% of our goal.
Yeah.
Which was crazy.
Yeah.
You know, it's
pretty amazing how commerce can happen now. You know, like...
Oh, yeah.
Because, you know, that there was a time where that wasn't a thing, and now it is a thing, and there's businesses, that's all they do is guide people through the journey. So now that mold shows up this week, right? We're hoping. Fingers crossed. It's in the so that's where we are in the story. Is the mold? The mold is coming from the manufacturer of the molding, and we're just waiting for it to show up.
You're waiting for it to show up. It's 25-day slow boat from China, and we're in the final steps. It's in the U.S.
Yeah.
It's supposedly
cleared customs, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it has cleared customs. But yeah, just waiting. They say this week, and we'll see. Well,
today is Thursday.
Today's Thursday, so today or tomorrow.
Unless they're delivering on Saturday or Sunday, I don't know.
I don't know either.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's where we're at. So it's just doing the fulfillment now.
Yeah. And then sky's the limit.
And then selling after, right? This is just the beginning.
But you have had a third-party company that gets licensing deals with these places reach out and say, hey, you've got an interesting product. How are those and if you can't talk about it, say, I can't talk about those.
No, I can. I think I'm free to talk about it. I just won't leave out maybe some
leave out names, but
so now that we've kind of found some success, some people are starting to reach out and be like, hey, we would really love for you to make a product around our game. Yeah. Or we would like to do a collaboration with you and maybe do a joint product together, or because we have similar audiences, let's do something together, essentially, right? And which is really cool to have somebody reach out and say, hey, I see what you're doing, let's work on something together. Right? And we haven't really come up with something yet that we're going to do, but one company that we're working with has all the licensing for the trading card game. He has all the licensing for Magic the Gathering. That's the only game he has the licensing for, but he also has the licensing for basically all of Hasbro's portfolio, which is like Godzilla and like Power Rangers, and like, so he's this guy's like way ahead of us in business, and now we get a chance to do some sort of collaboration with them
and learn from him, because he's had some painful learning in addition to your painful learning. And, and so anyway,
it's incredible. It's
been cool because we've been in this group together, and and just to hear the process of it all. Because at first when I saw him, and he's big, huge beard, it was epic, and I'm like, oh my gosh, he looked like Hagrid from Harry Potter, and you did. I mean, but anyway, cool story. And so, but if people here locally had questions in terms of if they had product, a mold maybe they want built, or maybe a Kickstarter, is that something you would talk to people about?
Yeah, if anybody wants to pick my brain, I'll talk to anybody.
Yeah.
I mean, I just love talking business.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite things to do.
Yeah. No, it's been cool to, again, just to hear it and sit and watch you sweat through some of the stuff.
Oh yeah, sweat through it. That's for sure.
Yeah. So how can people look up? Is it just cardzilla.com, or where can they find you?
Yeah, cardzilla.com. You can check out. It's not. We're working on our site, and depending on when you're seeing this.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. Well, this is going up here pretty quick. So.
Yeah. So the site's not quite up yet. You can go to cardzilla.com. There may not be anything there, or you can go to kickstarter.com and search Cardzilla, and you'll see our Kickstarter campaign there.
Yeah.
We are still accepting late pledges. If you like, if you're into this and it's something that you want, then go check it out at Kickstarter. Search Cardzilla, you'll find us right there. Or you can find us on social media, Cardzilla on social media, on Facebook, and on Instagram.
Yeah.
So
we'll watch for cool things coming from Devon and his partners, because that's a pretty cool story. You're just college guys eating ramen and trying to figure life out. Honestly, yeah. At least that was my college experience. So
that's basically mine.
Yeah.
Basically the same.
So is there anything we didn't discuss that you would want people to know? Because again, if you are thinking you would like to make an injection mold and want to pick someone's brain, or you have an idea for a Kickstarter, not that you're doing the heavy lifting for them, but you've learned a lot through this that you can help people avoid some of the pitfalls too.
And I can provide so much advice on that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
If please pick my brain on anything. I mean, I would love that. Absolutely.
Yeah. So anything that we haven't discussed that you think is worth?
I mean, there's a lot there. I could talk forever.
Yeah.
I think we hit the main points of it. Absolutely.
Still single. He's right about to be filthy rich. He's only shooting for 10% of an $8 billion vertical, and he only wants 10% of that.
Only
vertical.
10% will be good.
Yeah.
Only 10% will be good.
So ladies, hit up my buddy here. And awesome. Well, I'm grateful that our paths have crossed. You're cool. Your brother's cool. I think I met do you still have somebody else involved?
I don't know if you've met him yet, though.
Oh, okay.
I don't think so.
Okay, anyway, doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
I'm Tyler, this is Devon, and just living the life in Idaho Falls, Idaho, right?
Absolutely. Such a good time.
Yeah, thank you.